Wizard of Oz meaning, the Wizard of Oz, what it really means. This appears to be a message to expose the banking cartel in America, and to let the people know that they have the power to liquidate them and get back to Kansas, the real land, Republic. Habakkuk 2.6-8. The Wizard of Oz, written by L. Frank Baum, is not a mere child's story. What is Oz a symbol for? Ounces. What is measured in ounces? Gold. What is the yellow brick road? Bricks or ingot bars of gold. The character known as the straw man represents that fictitious, all caps, legal fiction, a person, the federal U.S. government created with the same spelling as your birth name. Remember what the straw man wanted from the Wizard of Oz? A brain. No juristic person, legal fiction, paper corporation has a brain because she has no breath of life. What did he get in place of a brain? A certificate, a birth certificate for a new legal creation. He was proud of his new legal status, plus all the other legalisms he was granted. Now he becomes the epitome of the brainless sack of straw who was given a certificate in place of a grain of common sense. Now, what about the Tin Man? Does taxpayer identification number TIN recall anything to mind? The poor Tin Man just stood there mindlessly doing his work until his body literally froze up and stopped functioning. He worked himself to death because he had no heart nor soul. He's the heartless and emotionless creature robotically carrying out his daily task as though he were already dead. He's the ox pulling the plow and the mule toiling under the yoke. These days, his taskmasters just oil him nightly with beer and place him in front of a hypnotic television until his very existence no longer has any meaning or value. His masters keep him cold on the outside and heartless on the inside in order to control any emotion or feeling that might arise. The cowardly lion was always too frightened to stand up for himself. Of course, he was a bully and a big mouth when it came to picking on those smaller than he. Have you ever noticed how bullies are really the biggest cowards? They act as though they have great courage, but, in reality, have none at all. They roar, but with no teeth of authority to back them up. When push came to shove, the cowardly lion always buckled under and whimpered when anyone of any size or stature challenged him. He wanted courage from the Grand Wizard, so he was awarded a medal of official recognition. Now, although remaining a coward, his official status allowed him to be a bully, but with officially recognized authority. He's not unlike the attorneys who hide behind the middle courts of the Temple Bar, et al. Ad infinitum. What about the trip through the field of poppies? Did you notice how this had no narcotic effect on the straw man, no brain, or the Tin Man, no heart or soul? They weren't real people, so drugs could not influence them. The Wizard of Oz was written at the turn of the century, so how could the author have known America was going to be drugged? The Crown has been playing the drug cartel game for centuries. Just look up the history of Hong Kong and the Opium Wars. The Crown already had valuable experience conquering all of China with drugs, so why not the rest of the world? What was the Emerald City? The Federal Reserve System. Who finally exposed the wizard for what he really was? Toto, the ugly, or cute, depending on your perspective, and somewhat annoying little dog. Toto means, in total, altogether, Latin in toto. What was it that the witch wanted after she alleged that the little dog had bitten her? Toto. Everything. Notice how Toto was not scared of the great wizard's theatrics, yet he was so small in size, compared to the wizard, that no one seemed to notice him? The smoke, flames and holographic images of Oz were designed to frighten people into doing as the great wizard commanded. Toto simply padded over, looked behind the curtain, the court, etc., saw it was a scam, started barking until others paid attention to him and came to see what all the barking was about. Who was behind the curtain? Just an ordinary person controlling the levers that created the illusion of the great wizard's power and authority. When Toto pulled back the curtain and completely exposed him, the charade was at an end. The veil hiding the corporate legal fiction and its false courts was removed. The wizard's game was up. What was he after all? A con man. A fraud. We can see, in this tale, just how loud the bark from a little dog can be. How about your bark? How big is it? Most of us remain silent and wait to be given whatever food and recognition, if any, by our legal master. Let us not forget those pesky flying monkeys. What perfect mythical creatures to represent the Bar Association attorneys who attack and control the little people for the great crown wizard, the powerful and grand bankers of Oz, gold. How, finally, was the evil witch destroyed? Pure, clean water liquidation. How, at last, did Dorothy get home? She simply clicked her heels. She always had the power, and so do we. What would it take to expose the wizard for what he is, tearing away his veils? We each need only a brain, a heart and soul, and courage. Then, and perhaps of the greatest importance, we need to learn how to work together. Only, in toto, working together as one body of the King of Kings, whatever name or form that may take for each of us, can we have the freedom given under God's law. The occult there is not trial that a spotless purity cannot pass through, there is no difficulty a strong intellect cannot surmount. H. P. Blavatsky. The Strange Characters of the Wizard of Oz. Before writing The Wizard of Oz, the author L. Frank Baum was editor of the Aberdeen Saturday Pioneer. In 1890, Baum wrote a series of articles regarding theosophy, including his views on the use of mystic symbolism in fiction, something he put into practice 10 years later with The Wizard of Oz. At that time, in 1890, Baum wrote a series of articles regarding theosophy, including his views on the use of mystic symbolism in fiction, something he put into practice 10 years later with The Wizard of Oz. At that time, he wasn't a member of the Theosophical Society, but he exhibited a profound understanding of its teachings. The story of The Wizard of Oz is greatly admired by prominent members of the Theosophical Society, so much so that in 1986, they recognized Baum as a notable theosophist who thoroughly represented the organization's philosophy. Although The Wizard of Oz is considered by many as a children's fairy tale, it is rife with occult symbolism and spiritual allegory. The characters and the symbols. Margaret Hamilton, the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. In The Wizard of Oz not only relate to everyday archetypes that anybody can easily understand but also contain double meanings that are open to interpretation. One theory suggests the story as an atheist manifesto, while another suggests it extols populism. It is through a careful investigation into the author's background, however, that the story's true meaning is revealed. L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, was a member of the Theosophical Society, which is an organization based on occult research and the comparative study of religions. Baum had a deep understanding of theosophy and, consciously or not, created an allegory of theosophic teachings when he wrote The Wizard of Oz. The entire story is an allegorical tale of the soul's journey toward enlightenment. The same concept of the yellow brick road, for example in Buddhism, is referred to as the Golden Path and is an integral concept in theosophical beliefs. The story begins with Dorothy Gale in Kansas, representing the material world, or the physical plane from where our spiritual journey must begin. By exhibiting a desire to seek a higher truth, Dorothy has passed the nadir, and yearns to go over the rainbow, and follow the path to illumination. She is transported to Oz by a giant cyclone which symbolizes the cycles of karma, the cycle of errors and lessons learned. It also represents the theosophical belief in reincarnation, the cycle of the multiple lives and deaths of a soul toward divinity. In occult rhetoric, the spiral represents the evolving self. The yellow brick road begins as an outwardly expanding spiral. This is the soul's journey as it ascends from the lower depths of consciousness of matter into the higher plane of the spiritual world. The Wizard of Oz starring Judy Garland. Before she begins her journey, Dorothy is given silver shoes in the original script, representative of the silver cord of mystery schools. In the movie, Dorothy is given ruby slippers because the director thought the color red looked better against the yellow background of the road. In occult schools, the silver cord is considered to be the link between our material and spiritual selves. Along the yellow brick road, Dorothy meets Scarecrow, Tin Man and Cowardly Lion, who are searching for a brain, a heart and courage respectively. These characters embody